Today we're doing something new. We have invited a life coach, and to be honest with you, I have a lot of questions for her. Although I've known her for over 2 years now, some of the main questions that inspired this episode are, is life coach transformational? Is it a luxury for the privileged? Is it therapy without a license? Or is it accountability most of us secretly need? Now, remember, for somebody like me who is an entrepreneur, self-made professional immigrant, I grew up solving my own problems without outsourcing any support for clarity to where I'm going. I survived, I adapted, and I moved on. So today is a treat. Our life coach, Dana, is going to help us understand when does survival stop being enough, and when does intentional growth and self-improvement begins. Welcome back to another episode of Chatting with Slava the Jordanian. I'm your host, STJ, and I would like to introduce Dana by reading her bio. Dana is a global executive coach based in New Zealand, and for over 3 decades, she helped leaders across industries such as finance, dentistry, construction, design, nonprofits, lobbying, and more. Her philosophy is to remember who they are and lead from that place. Dana has built a thriving business from the ground up, runs marathons for fun, and brings a rare mix of strength and sincerity to every room. Her company offers everything from one-on-one coaching to workshops and off-site retreats. Thank you, Dana, for coming on. I am so excited that you're on. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. It is really fun to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, I hope you do have fun. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm very, very excited.
Me too. I'm for a myriad of reasons, because we talked about this, that you would have a podcast one day. Now it's a full circle moment.
Yes. I mean, do you even remember when I told you that I want to do a podcast, or did you throw that idea about a podcast and you said, aha, I told you so?
I think it was, we were talking about telling your story. So first I said, one day you'll write a book. And then we were talking about the podcast platforms changing, because we've known each other more than 2 years. Because of the house I was living in, I remember, because I moved. So we're at almost 4 years together. And it was in your second year of being together. And we talked about your story is more than just your story. And so you came to me and said, I don't think I'm going to do a book this year. I'm going to do a podcast. And we both went, that's it. That's it.
and don't forget, like, I ended up with you by default. Remember?
Yeah.
Because the whole, and you know what, Dana, probably, my whole life, and I spoke about this in earlier episodes, everything in my life was by default, seriously, but I'm not gonna bore our audience with that, because I was not meant to be assigned to you. I was meant to be assigned to somebody else. And I literally thought that I need extensive, spiritual therapy. And then I don't know, for some reason, I think, and I share that with you, our culture and our tradition that don't seek therapy, go talk to a family member. Don't seek therapy, go pray. Don't seek therapy, go have a nap. Don't seek therapy, sugar is low, go have a snack. And that's what we were taught. No, seriously. So I tried everything. And then finally at the end, I was like, I need to talk to a professional. And God bless him, my Egyptian darling, Ehab, you know him.
Yes.
He's like, why do you need a life coach? Why don't you just talk to me? We've been building this life together. Why now? Yeah. I'm like, dude, listen, you are not a professional. I need a professional. And luckily he's not the kind of guy that take offense of from anything. And he goes, okay, fine, try it. You'll learn. You're going to come back to me, whatever. But here we are. So, and I'm glad that you mentioned about storytelling, because I think my first couple of sessions with you, it was all about storytelling. So, and this platform, it's all about people coming on telling the story. So let's start with that. Share with us and tell us your story as much as you want. How did you end up landing in New Zealand from California?
A little bit of default as well. So I was working at a church actually in LA, and there was a conference that we hosted, and I met some people from New Zealand, and they asked if I wanted to come and spend some time with them and teach them. I was working with volunteers, which is sometimes tricky when you work in any space, especially nonprofits, churches. And I really liked it. I was thriving, and they asked me to come, but I wasn't happy where I was. So it was an escape. I definitely was not healthy. I look back at my 20s and 30s and think, what was I doing? And it's funny that I coach now full time, because part of coaching is slowing down, noticing, and then making a choice. There was no slowing down, noticing anything. I was like, this doesn't feel good. I'll run here. This doesn't feel good. I'll run here. So I ended up going there for 3 months, extended my visa for 9. And while I was there, I met this lovely New Zealand man who we met through a mutual friend, and we actually went to Fiji. So we spent time in Fiji with our friend who had a nonprofit there. And 17 years later, I'm married to him and living in his country. So that's how I ended up here full time. I ended up marrying a New Zealander who was a photographer at the time and is now a medical doctor. So life, again, the things I planned just did not happen.
And that's what I love about how this platform has become. It literally, and you know me, Dana, everything is by default, and it's unplanned, totally unplanned. I have been coming together with people that, you grew up in California, I grew up in Saudi Arabia, born and raised in Saudi Arabia. You're Christian, I'm Muslim, different faith, different beliefs, different profession. I'm a dentist, you're a life coach. I ended up marrying an Egyptian American, staying here in the United States. You ended up marrying a New Zealander. And by the way, all people from New Zealand are nice, but probably he's super nice. Yeah, I had actually Ehab's best friend in graduate school. He was from New Zealand.
Really?
And he's still in touch with Ehab. He was the guardian angel for Ehab. He was just taking care of him he was the sweetest person. Maybe one day I definitely want to visit and go to Fiji. But we are so different, but at the same time we clicked and we connected, and we talk about this all the time on our sessions about humanity. And you've seen my videos on Instagram, how I just base everything on humanity. Everything that I do in my life, my relationship on humanity. But isn't it amazing that two people like us from different parts of the world, so different, but yet so similar in our belief system, ended up by default coming together, and here we are, like I said, in front of our computers taping a podcast episode. Dana, I mean, if you always ask me this, if you talked to Slava 2 years ago, I would have said, you're crazy, Slava. Do you agree?
Yes, you would have said, I'm doing dentistry. I'm trying to figure out how to end my dentistry career. And you were just so scared. As much as you were so professional, accomplished, like you just weren't a dentist. You had a franchise, you have accolades behind you. But I just kept seeing that fear. And all coaches are different. Just like all dentists are different, all therapists are different. But I get asked a lot, what kind of, like, who's your niche? Like, who's your audience? Who's the people you're going towards? And I never have an answer for that, because well, as you read in my bio, I do all sorts of people. I have 20 somethings, and then I have people at the end of their career deciding what to do next, like for their third chapter. But when I click with someone, it's that moment where I'm just there to listen. So I'm there to be a mirror or a window sometimes. I just had someone give me that language, a client give me that language this week, that you're either a mirror for someone or a window. And so for you, there was plenty of times we went back and forth, but I'm not surprised by this at all because you were in your own way. That was the problem. You couldn't see outside of yourself and how great you were. Even though you had a confidence, would that be fair?
No, I agree with that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to say, I think there was just this divine power that's stronger and bigger than me, seriously, and I'm going to share with you a secret. When I met you, I was this close of losing my faith.
Wow.
I swear on my mother's life, she's still alive.
Yeah, I was like,
breathing.
Wait, she's still alive.
Yeah, she's still alive, breathing and talking and healthy. This close. And that's reflecting back on, I had this nagging voice. It's like, Slava, you gotta talk to somebody. Otherwise, if you lose your faith, part of me, very faithful, very, as you know, dutiful. And I'm very, very, very spiritual. It's almost a different kind of responsibility towards my faith, right? But I felt like I was slipping, I was just slipping and sliding and didn't know what direction I'm going. And then when I started talking to you and then taking, doing all the homework you asked me to do, and today, 2026, my faith, and this is, you'll be surprised, my faith is stronger than when I was even in Saudi Arabia. And that is interesting. And sometimes, the challenges of not being home, like I say, being away from your home world, being away from the traditional tribal connection, it will strengthen the faith, but also it can take you the opposite way. So what got you in doing life coach? Why not spiritual coach? Why a coach? Why not a therapy? Being a therapist. Why life coach? What was the attraction?
It was an accident. I never wanted to be.
I should have answered that. I should have just answered
it's like,
that myself.
You know that. I never wanted to run a business. I've gone kicking and screaming into running a business, but I have done this type of work my whole life. So every job I was in, I was very, very blessed with good leaders. And not everybody is, especially females. There's a lot of females that don't have the space and the openness that I got at a young age. Like, I look back at some of these people that put me in leadership. I'm like, what were you thinking? But I was very, each job I was in had high leadership development and high learning about people. And so I learned some things along the way. I learned some assessments. I learned some, tools to help people understand who they are. And along the way, the conversations I'm having now, while I've upskilled and I've life experience, I was having these when I was 20, 21. I had an incredible dean of students where I went to university, and he pushed me to be the best version of myself. But he did it by saying, don't be anybody other than who you are. And he taught me something that I still use to this day, even before this podcast, that I say is, he says, and again, I come from a Christian faith, but you do not have to be a Christian to go to me. In fact, sometimes that's a really yucky word right now in our culture. But one of the things I say is, God, what are you doing in this person? And how do I come alongside of it? Or, God, what have you done in this person? And how do I partner with that? And he taught me that because he saw me trying to, have a great meeting, have a great one-on-one, do leadership, do all this stuff. And he said, if you would just relax and be who you are, I think you would see something you never saw. So it's twofold. I then started doing that in my whole career. I was a receptionist at a hospital in one season. I did that. I still have people in my life from then. I was, running volunteers. I had 600 or so volunteers. I ran leadership teams. I worked I was a nanny for a little bit when my little boy was little. Everything I did, I kind of took that approach, and it was twofold, and it helped me be who I wanted. But I was watching these people realize they were greater than they thought. I mean, a 3-year-old or like a 33-year-old nurse, a 20-year-old doctor. We had a really young 23-year-old doctor. It was just who I was. So someone came up to me, actually, when I was working in the hospital in that season, and said, "Hey, could you meet with me and help me work out why I am the way I am?" And I was like, sure. And I was like, I guess this is just what I'll do. And she said, "I want to pay you." And I was, my husband was in medical school, so we had to be really careful with the amount that we made because we got help from the government in New Zealand when you're in school. So she said, "I'll pay you cash." So she paid me cash, which became like coffee money for me. And we sat down, and that woman is now the CFO of my company because she said, "I need you to help me make sense of me, these assessments, what other people have told me I've done, what this is." And thus began a coaching business that I never wanted to begin. I didn't have a title. I refused the title coach forever. I thought it was horrible. I thought it was cheesy. I thought it was weird. It wasn't really popular back then. And if it was like a trope on a TV show. But I now do like the word, and I'm called all sorts of things: life coach, transformative coach, executive coach. But my husband got me a necklace that said coach on it about 4 years into that journey. And I went, yeah, that's who I am. I'm the coach.
You are definitely a free spirit. So probably you were like, I don't want labels. Yep. I'm going to do whatever I want. Did you feel like maybe using the coach thing was more like an executive thing, or you just didn't want to, have that label? And when you said like it wasn't common back then, what year was that, Dana?
So Max was 3. So 2012 or 13, she asked me to be that. So there was coaches around.
Yeah, that was fairly a new concept then, like in our culture or in the world.
And it was the opposite of what you just said. I didn't feel like it was executive. I felt like it was airy-fairy, ooey-wooey, like out there. And that was not me. Like, I wasn't doing therapy. I knew that. I didn't want to be a therapist. Like, I thought about it before, but I want to work with people that want to move forward. That's probably my only prerequisite, is that you want to move forward. I had actually a young one say to me, and I think she was mid-20s, she said, "You're kind, but you're not nice as a coach." And that was like the best compliment I ever got, because I struggled in my 20s. Even now, it's hard for me to be direct when I feel really vulnerable. Yet here I am in a job promising to be honest with someone. And, back then I didn't want an airy-fairy title, but I didn't want to be a therapist. So I just sat with people. And then I finally had to go, what I'm doing is coaching. And do you know what, Slava? I always wanted to be 2 things when I was little. I wanted to be a cheerleader. So desperately, I wanted to be a cheerleader, but I didn't have the rhythm or the body for it. In America, you had to look a certain way and you had to be a dancer. In my school, not all schools, but in my school, you had to be quite good at gymnastics or dance. And I wanted to be a coach. I would envision myself like being a little kid coach or a swim coach, but I wasn't good at any sports. And I was like, I actually need to do a sport so that I could coach one day. So I actually went through that in my head over and over. What could I do now so that I could coach little kids or coach people later in life? And I wanted to be a teacher. So the traditional thing I wanted to be was a teacher. I wanted to be a math teacher. And instead I ended up working in a church as a pastor for young people. And then I ended up, taking teams, and I really liked helping people get better. But again, everywhere I went, I did use an assessment in my head. So I use an assessment called Clifton Strengths. And the reason by Gallup, the reason I like that one is because it pulls people's what they're naturally talented at. And if you're naturally talented at something, you have a shot at being a high performer. Or if you recognize your natural talent and work on your strength. And to me, I was like, oh, this just gives me an excuse to tell people how great they are, and maybe they'll get out of their own way. And so even though not all my clients use that, I use that concept, and then I have neutral language that isn't me just saying, you're amazing, rah, rah, rah. It's like, no, actually there's data behind this. So you can do what you want with it, but this is the data. So I was very conscious of the line between therapy and coaching. I just intuitively knew it. Out of my core group of girlfriends, 3 of them are therapists, trained licensed therapists. So I don't know if that was it. I've been to therapy, but I work with another coach who I love, who has encouraged me and inspired me and in a lot of ways mentored me, Mike Daphne. And me and him talked in 2020, and we both connected on, we hate the word coach, but we don't know what other word to use. And we just intuitively knew the line between coaching and therapy, and we didn't know how to describe it. So we were always afraid to teach other coaches because we just knew it. We just knew where it was, like where the line passed, and to move them on to a therapist.
No, it totally makes sense because I have been through sessions with you. But I just want to highlight a couple of points. First of all,
yes.
Cheerleading is still, you have to be really good. So not back then, it still is even more. You have to be so good in gymnastic and dance, because I have team members in patients, their kids are flyers or base. So that's all about cheerleading, which is funny. But when you are talking to me in the session, I feel like you don't sugarcoat it, because I try to sugarcoat things, managing patient expectations, managing team expectations. So where do I get my guidance, right? So coaching or life coach is perfect because I was like, hey, focus. Like, this is not going to work. This is going to work. Don't sugarcoat anything, right? I don't care about you feeling. We need stuff done. And I am very task oriented and result oriented and data oriented. So to me, matching that personality was so important to me. And to be honest with you, the first couple of sessions, like, oh my God, she just kicked my butt. Like I am, like I'm doing so much wrong, but that's just me. It's not really you. Probably a different personality would have said, oh, that was an amazing session. It's like, oh my God, I have so much to work on. But that's just, like I said, my personality. And what I came out of every single session that I was with you, it was structured. It's like, okay, building a block, work on it, refine it, make it shiny, make it solid, make it strong so you can step on it and put the next block on. And you were not shy at, contradicting me. It's like, Slava, I totally respect what you're saying, but because you are in your own head and you are in your own mind and spinning, right? So you don't know what's productive and what's efficient. So when I talk to you, it's like, okay, I know exactly what you're trying to say, but reality is things don't work that way. If you want to get to point A, you need to do A, B, C. If you want to, end up in point B, you need to do A, B, and C for that point B. And I needed that because now I am the matriarch of the family. My mom has dementia, so I cannot really talk to my mom and say, I'm not saying you're as old as my mom, but, I don't have that, female figure to say, it's like, knock it off. I'm saying, you know better, you got this, move forward. When you hesitate, when you doubt, because as an immigrant, and I said that in so many different episodes, there is no room to doubt. There is no time to give up or quit. You gotta keep on going. And like I said, we survived, we adapted, and we just keep moving on because we sacrifice everything that we love. We give up on everything that we know to come to the new world, to culturate and simulate and for a better life. So for us to say, okay, I'm going to stop right here. I had enough. I want to go back. Well, there's no going back because it's too late now. You know what I'm saying? So my mother-in-law I used to, when I lived with them during dental school, we lost her for Alzheimer's. So I lost 7-8 years for the end of her life that she didn't even recognize. So I couldn't even talk to her. Being far away from home, all your family, it's just different. So now I'm the senior of my family. I'm the matriarch of the family. And I'm looking out in the space, trying to get family support. And there's nobody there because I'm it. I'm the one that my younger members of the family come to me for advice. So from that, I just had to find somebody to tell me that, you got this, but you have to approach things in a different way if you are looking for the result that you're looking for. And that was very, very helpful. So that answers my next question. How is life coach so different than therapy, consulting, and mentoring? And what is the most misconception about life coach from the public or in the public eye? Because I talk to, it's like, oh, is that like therapy? I'm like, no, it's not really therapy. Oh, is it like, is a psychiatrist? We do have, as you know, Eric, our favorite man. Yeah, he's our dental coach. And I've been under Eric's training for like 20 years now. But that's dentistry. It's very focused on dentistry, patients, team, and all that. So how is it so different? And what is the number one most misconception that you deal with when you get especially new clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, looking at Eric, who is that more business consultant, I'm definitely not that. I actually hire or I outsource, or like I'll refer people to Eric, or I have another lady, Carly, who does the business stuff. Definitely not a therapist. I think, and I have trusted therapists that I refer to. The misconception of life coach, I don't actually think it's a misconception. I think there are a lot of different types of life coaches out there. So, I think people have experience of them, that some are good and some aren't. Some are not good because it's not for them. I think the biggest misconception, I don't know if it's a misconception as much as it's my own insecurity, which is what we talk about all the time in coaching, is I don't want people to see me like whatever the like is. So for me, it's to see me as airy-fairy or a pseudo therapist. And so I had to, for me, get over like, what is the gift that I bring? And I am a cheerleader, like you said, but sometimes I'm the cheerleader that's like, suck it up, buttercup, get off the ground, and we're doing that flyer again. I'm the coach that's saying, hey, let's tweak your foot right here. And then sometimes I'm just listening, right? So I always tell people, if you don't get anything out of my coaching, get that you have to learn to slow down and notice. There's an art and a science to slowing down and noticing, right? And so part of it is the difference between therapy and, like consultant. If there's a spectrum, therapy is a lot of times, there's different types of therapists though. It's figuring out why you got here, how you got here. And there are forward thinking therapists, like our good friend Abby. She is a solution oriented therapist, I think is the way she titles it. So they do go forward, but they unpack, right? Coaching in general doesn't unpack. We don't really look why you got there. We might figure out what your fear is, but you could unpack till you're blue in the face. So here's the main difference. I can figure out why this is my fear, what got me here, what I'm afraid of, what's holding me back, and still do nothing about it. Or I could go, oh, this is my fear. I don't actually know why I have this fear. I haven't dug deep into my childhood or my adolescence, but here's what I can do to move forward. So in order to move forward, you don't always need to know why you got there, but you have to know what it is. You have to be really crystal clear at reality, which is what you alluded to that me and you did. You would say, this is what's going on. And I would say, well, here's a different perspective. And for the first time in your life, I think in coaching, you actually admitted that you didn't have all the answers. What got you here didn't keep you here. I would say 90% of my coaching clients, whether their boss makes them come or they choose to come on their own like you did, that is the aha moment is, hey, the thing that got you here, we actually need to honor that. The reason that you are who you are, Slava, is because you buckled down, you survived, you did all that, but all of a sudden it stopped working for the life that you wanted. And so being able to really listen to someone, and I'm not diagnosing them, I'm just listening. And a good coach listens, stops and listens and finds the distinctions in what they're saying. I think that's my definition.
I did notice, no, I agree with you. I did notice that with you, you really focus on how I express my challenge. You know, the conscious decision to use certain words to describe it, you know, and you write it down. It's like, you know what? That's really interesting because you keep saying this and that, and you don't even pay attention to that. And you are right. I mean, being a business owner, you do build up that ego, like I know it all, I'm moving forward. And then when you realize I don't have the answers, and sit down with you and he said, yep, you don't have all the answers. And you're like, oh my God, that affirmation just happened. My mind is just, you know, I was like, I am worthless. Basically, what have I been doing? You know, everything wrong until, you know, I mean, but the way I look at life coach, and I agree on everything that, you know, the way you explain it is when you have a football team and you're on the sideline kind of like, let's go. But the therapist is the physical therapist for your body. Do you know what I'm saying? Like detoxing your body, make sure you eat well, make sure you sleep well, make sure you're hydrated, make sure your joints are lubricated, and you make sure you flex so you don't pull a muscle. That's to me is a therapist. And I don't think I ever really spoken to a therapist. Maybe I have my undergrad, I think, when I was a kid, or dental school, long time ago. I think it's just my personality. I just felt like I just dumped and left. I'm like, okay, so it wasn't satisfactory for me because, like I said, I'm result-oriented, solution-oriented. But a life coach is basically the coach that's watching you playing the game as you're playing the game and strategically directing you to win the game. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm I'm self-competitive, but I don't compete with anybody else, but I constantly competing with myself. And because my mom always told me, don't ever compete with anybody else. Do not ever compare yourself with anybody. It's just a waste of your time, right? All you can do is, because you can't control everybody else, all you can do is improve yourself, and make yourself better. So that's how I envision you in my life, is like I am playing this game. I'm like, I'm in the Super Bowl. Some situations, sometimes I'm just, you know, playing, you know, minor league, maybe a major league. And you're on the sideline. It's like, okay, you got this, you know, pick it up. Like, don't be a crybaby. You're going to stumble. You're going to hurt yourself. And it's like, don't you dare shed a tear. I'm like, but I am hurting. It hurts. It's so hard. No, it's not hard because you have the training that you have assessed, like you said in the beginning of the episode, my strength. And, you know, certain situations, and depending on how you perform, you forget that, oh crap, I call my strength tool bag. I forgot that I have that tool, and you helped me. It's like, remember that tool? Go ahead and pick it up, because you're gonna, you know, that way you're gonna actually win this challenge that you're trying to face. So I'm glad that you even mentioned that the majority of your clients, you know, they either get recommended to, you know, find a life coach, or they just find them on their own. I know we read your bio. Right now, what's the age range that you deal with right now? Is it like, are you surprised that younger people are seeking that kind of coaching? It's fascinating. What are you finding in your world right now, age-wise, profession-wise?
Yeah. You know what? Just this last week, I found really interesting is, I think my youngest client right now is 21, and my oldest client right now is 54. I'm sorry, 64. And one of my ones, and he's just about 50, and one of my 20 somethings were doing the exact same work. They were figuring out what was their fear that was holding them back. Because, and I had this epiphany, like I love working with 20 somethings. There's something about that age group that I've always loved. It's a decade of first job, first breakup, first house, first baby, first getting in trouble at work, like really getting in trouble, like dropping the ball at work, first big promotions. Like there's all these first, and those are all transitions. So you can lose your footing even in a good transition. But then I look at my clients in their 40s and 50s and they're going, yeah, I did all that and I'm still not where I want to be. So they're in another transition. So the thing I don't have a specific age range of people that I work with. I kind of work with anybody that's willing to work. But what I'm noticing is those that are willing to slow down and notice themselves. And my job, like Slava with you, it was not an accident that I talked to you the way I did. Because in your assessment, I knew you needed steps and building blocks. So what I'm really good at as a coach is I can break things down into small components for people. The literal way we explain my particular strength is a JV coach. It's a coach that teaches fundamentals. So my job is to slow people down, go, here's what you're great at. Yep, that means you're going to not be great at some things. Let's get you crystal clear on who you are. So my tagline at my company has become, we're not here to impress you with us, we're here to impress you with you. So the people coming to me, the main thing I notice is they don't know who they are, or they never knew who they are. Right? They've hit a spot where they were performing for their whole career, or they're becoming a new person, which I would maybe put you in the last two categories. You thought you knew who you were, but also you're becoming a new person, but you had put all of these labels on you. You know, I'm an immigrant, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm this, I'm that. And then we had to get down to actually who's Slava. And a lot of people say what you said. They feel like they got beat up in a session with me, or someone once said, I feel like you punched me and hugged me all at the same time. But the reason I do that is because I want you to see exactly who you are. And in order to see exactly who you are, I have to show you that you're actually afraid to look at exactly who you are. But you're better than you think. And so I hold the hope and belief until you can do it.
No, you're absolutely right, because remember when I said, I can't talk to my mom? My mom was just like that. She was a tough love. She loved you, hugged you, and kissed you, but it's like, okay, knock it off. I'm like, okay, where did I'm confusing. It's like, it's so confusing because it's a bittersweet kind of thing, but it is tough love. And it made me who I am. So when I met you and then I started having the session, like the first 2-3 sessions, because I've been so far away from that style of mentoring, and then find you, it's like, hold on a second, like I remember this, like it's a muscle memory that came back to me. But you're right, when you get older and you in your advanced years and you have more responsibilities, especially as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you have a lot of responsibility. You're responsible about a lot of things, or you're responsible for a lot of things, or you're responsible for a lot of people, because you're switching hats constantly all day, every day. You lose who you are. So I remember when you asked me that question the first time, who is Slava? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like in my head, it was like, I don't know. And it had that kind of panic mode. It's like, holy crap, I just lost myself. Like I can't find myself. Yeah. And you got me back on, you are go, but also go back to base. Right? Go, and you go to, it's like the locker room. Like I said, you are the coach, yes. Right? Going back to the locker room, it's like, okay, what was the basic principle? What is the fundamental? But as you said, Slava, the 19-year-old in 1988, when I landed in the United States, my belief system, my values were a little bit so different. So also you helped me drop everything that does not serve me well right now at this stage. I might have to pick some up when everything in my life slows down and I'm in retirement. I might go back to that. But right now, what I want to accomplish and what I'm doing every day or every week, those things were not serving me. It's like I am basically stuck in the mud with my wheels are just spinning and I'm just throwing out so much mud when I'm not going anywhere. I just didn't feel like I was on solid ground. Go ahead.
Well, do you remember you were like, I can't do this. This is all I know. I am a dutiful person. Right. And so, I have a CEO I work with of a design firm, and her conversations are getting back to who she wants to be. I have a 21-year-old. Who do you want to be? I have a dentist. Who do you want to be? So my job is to help you go, no, actually you are someone. You do have strengths. You do have an identity. And I help people refine their identity or find it for the first time. Because some people, even though they're 49, they have lived their life to please other people and to get accolades. And they all of a sudden have this moment where they're like, actually, this is who I am. And they get some freedom. And our brains are wild. So a colleague I work with, her master's is in neuroscience, and she talks a lot about neuroplasticity with our clients. And I didn't know there was a language for what I was doing or there was actually research behind it. Mine was all intuitive, which is why I never thought I would do this, because I was like, oh, I'm just knowing this. But what we did with you is we went, okay, who are you? And you can reshape your brain. There's actually science behind it. And I knew you needed a system. So we often would give you a system of like, okay, do X, do Y, do Z. And then we'd say, when have you conquered a situation like this before? And it was silly, and it became our mantra. Take all the clothes out of your closet. The best way you do something, you pull everything out and then you reorganize your closet. But you were trying to do your life by not pulling everything out, by just going in there and trying to move everything around. So it's reminding people this is who you are, or helping them see for the first time. But here's where I work really hard to not be a savior in someone's life or a rescuer. So like in the victim, villain, savior triangle, I always remind people of two things. You should be proud of you. I rarely, if ever, say I'm proud of you to a client, because I don't want them stuck on needing my or anybody's approval, but I'm the person that happens to be in front of them. You should feel proud of you. I got that from my son's preschool teacher. She said, oh, we don't say to the kids that we're proud of them because we're wanting them to have internal confidence, that if they do something, they should be proud, so they don't need external confidence. Slava, I sat in the foyer of the kindy and just started crying because I was like, I've never had that. All I look for is external confidence. And it was like this light bulb moment that I was like, oh my gosh. And that started to shape the way I talk to people. Is I talk to them like my preschool teacher talked to my son. Then I say, you do the hard work. I don't do the hard work. I have lots of clients that don't come to me because they don't want to do the work. And that's okay. That's one of the seasons they're in. But a coach doesn't take an ice bath after a game. Right? The player does. So you guys are doing the hard work. And sometimes we do. Like we sent you to a therapist for a while because we realized, oh, you needed a little bit extra help on your muscles and your ligaments in this one area of your life. And off you went, and you came back, and it made you stronger, right? Because I'm not a muscle, in your illustration, I'm not a physical therapist, but my job is to help you see, here's what you're great at. Here's your game. Here's the life you're playing. Does it match? I always used to do it this way. This is how I do everything. If you said that to me once, you said it to me a million times. If I had a nickel for every time you said that, I'd be rich. I could retire on the beach in Fiji. But I said, yeah, but this is the game you're playing and this is who you are, right? Does that still serve you? Here's your vision. Who do you actually want to be when you're 80 and you're sitting there and all the people you love are around you? Who do you want to be? Start being that person now. But be honest about where you are at right now, which you didn't want to be. And a lot of my clients, that's maybe what I do is I help them be okay at looking at the reality of their life. because I know once they do, I'm going to show them, and here's what you're amazing at.
Well, that's all about accountability, right? Because, just like your son's teacher, you want to build accountability. And the funny you said that, what you said about the, I'm not going to be, you need to be proud of yourself. My mom was the same way. I'm like, why can't you just be proud of me? My mom's like, why do you need my confirmation? You're the one who's doing all the work. You're the one who putting all, the late nights studying. You should be proud of yourself. Like, I don't, and she used to tell me, Slava, I'm not going to live for you forever. You need to build that kind of block inside of you that when you are by yourself, when you are stuck, you need to be proud of you. Are you proud of you? And that's what the life coach is. It's almost like you holding the mirror in front of us and you say, this is you. You got to deal with you because, after the session, I had separation anxiety after the first 2 sessions with you. I was like, and I sent you, how many voice texts did I send you? Right? Because I just want to help, right? That kind of thing. And then I got trained to say that, okay, this is normal. That's another thing I discovered with having a session with you. It's like, this is not normal. I'm going crazy. It's not going to work. But you kept saying, Slava, this is normal. This is just you, because I was always trying to not project what I feel. Like, projection for me, it was weakness. And from you, I learned that it's okay to project in the beginning. These are just emotions and you need to deal with it. And it is like dumping the whole closet. But what I do, whether my kitchen or closet, I dump and I walk away. I just walk away from it because looking at it's like, holy crap, there's a mess and I need to do it right now. And I learned to say, you know what, Slava, just walk away from it, regroup and come back. You'll have a better plan. You'll have a better system for it. But that's very interesting because that's what my mom, and I think always told me, that you need to be proud of yourself. You don't need my affirmation. Don't let anybody in your life be your crutch to pull that affirmation, from. Be your own affirmation, be your own, sustainability, like self-support on your own. And I think that's why you are very relatable to me because, not knowing that, when you were young, it's like, Mom, that was so mean. Like, I'm not being loved. Of course, now finding out you are being loved, it's called tough love. And we teach that now in coaching and in the practice with the team, with the patient. Even that's my style right now with the patient. It's tough love. You messed up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, take accountability that your lifestyle is, I don't say it that way. Your lifestyle is horrible. That's what, you haven't seen you in 10 years. There's a repercussions of that, right? There's consequences, and just accept that you are living the consequences right now, but we can do something about it, So it's not only life coach helped me with my own challenges and struggles, but also help me how to become even a better provider for my patients. So I wrote this and I want to see if you agree with what my perspective of a life coach is. Basically, number one, growth is intentional, right? So if we want to grow, or we are planning to grow, it's not by default. There is a processes inside of us, internal processes that will tell us that, I need to grow. Just like when I came to you because I wanted to grow into the new phase of my life, into this new stage of my life, that transformative stage. I wanted to grow into that. Survival will get you going, but awareness will keep you evolving.
Yes, that awareness, that's so good, Slava. Because if I tell people, if you could just learn, and it's scary, learn to notice, be aware. One, you have more answers than you think. You're better at this than you think, right? If you don't grab all your survival coping mechanisms that you needed, that was what your brain did to keep you safe.
Yeah, but because when I met you, I was in survival mode.
Totally. Right? You had been since 19, girlfriend.
I was totally in survival mode, but then after that, now I learned you shed the light into you taught me how to be aware, self-aware. I was very good at social awareness because my culture and then my
Absolutely.
profession, I had to, right? It just like hit the ground running with that. It's the sense of duty, like I'm responsible to how to represent myself, how to conduct myself in public and society and all that. It's been like fed into us since like age 6 or 8. But the awareness, being aware that this is what's happening, that's how I want to live. I want to evolve. I just don't want to live and just stagnant, like plateau and have like a flat line. I want it to evolve. So to me, life coach is not about fixing, it's more about refining your strength, because everybody is born with certain strengths, right? Because remember the first text we had, you asked me, what are your strength finder? What are your top 5 strengths?
Gallup
and
strengths,
yeah, exactly. And that's a Gallup test, right? Also,
Gallup. Yeah. You can go online to Gallup.com and take it.
Yeah, and you know what? When you send me that text, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to judge me before she meets me. I'm like, oh my God.
But see, you were so worried about your external, right? That
100%.
And not the internal. But like I just wrote down because I didn't want to forget, Destry, our common friend who we love, her father-in-law, she said a line to me, years ago, that she said, we're over-informed and under-transformed as a society. And that clicked so deep in me because with all the TED Talks that are out there and conferences you can go to and books you can read and now AI you can use, there is plenty of information out there. But do you know what? Since AI has really started ratcheting it up, I have more clients than I've ever had before, Slava. Like I'm not looking for new clients because all this information isn't slowing down and doing the self-awareness, accountable piece. AI, chat, whatever you want to call your robot, is not a person. It can sound like a person, but transformation comes in this, hey, here's what you're doing. And a good coach, like I don't use AI notes. A lot of coaches do and it works for them, but my style is to listen for what's not being said. So it's really hard. I could probably train AI to do that, but here's the thing. I'm not going to spend 80% of the time doing the 20% of what I'm good at. I'm like 20% on technology. So I take my own notes and I sometimes get the transcripts, but I want to help people transform, not just have information. Right? And that's awareness. And that's the difference between, I think, me and the coaches that I work with. I consult with a company, but then I have my own company. We're transformative. So you're not going to stay where you are, but that means you're going to have to be aware and you're going to have to look at reality. And I'm going to be a mirror, but sometimes I'm going to be a window, right? It's to your coach. We're going to the Super Bowl. So do whatever you need to do, go eat right, go get the water, but we're going to work when you come to the session. I'm not just going to listen to you whine and complain. We're going to work and we're going to use what you're saying. And how many times, and this came from Mike Doffney, who mentored me, congratulations, you're not a sociopath. You're having a human reaction to a situation. That's an emotion. We don't need to be afraid of emotion. We all have them. Now, emotion and fear, my friend Danny, who I work with, says this. They're like children. We don't want them to drive the car. We don't want them to be in charge of us, but we also can't stuff them in the trunk. We have to recognize they're there. And you told me I don't have emotions. The first time I saw you, I was like, well, that's not true because you're a person, but I let you talk. And then you said, I don't want to deal with my emotions. And then you said, I don't actually know how. And that was kind of the progression. But because we were honest and you were starting to see yourself, you're like, actually, I am brave enough to face this. Okay, I do have emotions. Then you became a little bit braver. I do, but I don't know what to do with them. And what we figured out with you is, again, a coach listens for distinctions. I pay attention. We noticed you'd have an incredible session. And then the next week you went crazy. It was scary. It was hard. Your emotions were all over the place. You thought, this is it. I'm never doing this again. Everything's bad. I should just quit my job and go live in a hole. And then I would tell you, zero worry. I'd probably be in the car, taking Max somewhere or picking him up. And I'd say, oh, yep, this is what you do. You'll be fine. Remember, by next week, you'll be okay. You go up and then you go down, up and down, and everyone has their own rhythm. My job as a coach is to figure out your rhythm. My job is to not play the game for you. One of my favorite coaches ever is the Chicago Bulls coach, and then he was the LA Lakers coach, Phil Jackson. He sat on the bench, barely moved, because they did all their work in their sessions. So he trusted his team to play and trusted that he created a value system that anybody knew what to do with the ball. Anybody knew what to do with the team. And he didn't do much because he wasn't playing the game. It was you. You were doing the work. But you just unlocked coaching because you were aware. That was it.
Yeah. And when I wrote these words, I'm like, okay, sometimes I surprise myself, but you hit on one of the things that I just taped an episode with Elizabeth Shahid. She's a returning guest. She's a family and marriage therapist in Alabama. And one of the questions we asked about who do you see? So she has a full-time job in the university. She all her clients are basically freshmen and sophomores, and also the part-time is her private business. And she said exactly what you just said. All her clients, even in her private business, are either young parents or young couple who just got married or younger. And she's finding that they want to go back to having one-to-one with a human, although they have the web and Google and AI, but they don't want that. So the new generation wanted a human being to really, converse with and to share that emotion. Because honestly, although the technology is amazing, and it's very useful in so many different ways, but it's a double-edged sword too. They don't trust that information. And she finds herself constantly telling them, whatever you tell me, this is private and confidential, and I don't want you to worry. Just get that out of your mind so you can relax and actually talk to me and tell me, why are you here? That's number one. Number two, talking about a coach, it's more applying what I learned from you. And then my performance, when I apply that, becomes so transformative, and I can see it transforming. And I was so scared of emotions, but Destry, who's coming on also, she told me one thing, the first session with her, she's a spiritual coach. I think that's what she describes herself with. She's a trained therapist, but she specializes in spiritual coaching. Right. That's why I was so attracted to her services. And she said that, Slava, you have to name it, to feel it, and you have to feel it to heal it. And that was so impactful, so powerful. And that's what helped me face my emotions and have a better sessions with you. When Destry is more like here, she's more, and you're like, get going. Let's go. We got work to do. So both of you guys in my life is like, Destry is like, Mom, you won't even believe what happened to me. And then I go to
Coach
Dana and
so
say,
mean.
the coach is so mean, and I'm just so sore. And she pushed my limits, and I don't think I'm going to do it. And that's just like, here, okay, and she listens. Literally, she listens the whole hour. And then the last 15 minutes, it's like, okay, Slava, this is what we learned from this. And I was like, okay. And then I go to Dana, and she's like, let's go. She's the drill sergeant. But I love the balance because I'm a Gemini, yin and yang, and I like, the sweet and the savory. So it's a perfect balance for me.
Just going to say about that, Destry is one of my go-to therapists. Now, she's one of my best friends in the world. Like, I trust her with my life and emotions as well. So I know I could trust other people with her. But she's so good at just being calm, right? So she slows down.
So calm.
Here's what this is. Like, she's like that in real life. I will call her crying, spill something out. She listens. And then at the end, it's like, zing. She gives you the one-line zinger. And you're like, whoa, she's so wise. But what I was going to say about that is, name the emotion, feel it, heal it. Do you know that, and we have the science behind this now. I have because I have a little neuroscience psychology master's colleague. An emotion only lasts 90 seconds. That's it. If you can get through 90 seconds, the reason that it's like a wave, right? A 90-second wave. But it's if we attach another thought to it, that it becomes another wave and another wave. And a client of ours said, yeah, I have like a tsunami because it's what we think. So getting you to slow down and name it, that is the powerful moment, because 90 seconds, if I would have told you all you have to do is get through 90 seconds, one, you wouldn't have believed me, but you didn't have the tools to do it yet. But then you got Destry. And then what we're doing is we're like, okay, now that your calves are unsore, let's run. Because I want to show you that you can go farther than you think, right? I'm going to push you as far as you think you can go. And then we're going to take 2 more steps. That's resilience. Right? The definition of resilience isn't a diamond that's robust and never falls under pressure. It doesn't, but it doesn't change, right? It doesn't transform. It just withstands. A cushion is flexible, right? It withstands pressure, but then it goes right back to where it was. A muscle, you break it down. It's, you do 10 push-ups and you just physically can't do any more. And you're like, it hurts. It's horrible. You're walking around sore, but then it rebuilds and it grows, right? So I want you to get to that rebuild and grow, not just to I feel it. Because this young generation is very literate with their emotions, Slava. They are so literate with their emotions, but they forget. You have to tell me,
I have a lot of
right?
team.
Which is
I
great.
love them all. And I say that all the time. I love them all, but my God, yeah.
But see, your generation and Gen X, we were not literate with emotions. We were the suck it up buttercup. That's what our parents were telling us.
Mm-hmm.
And then this millennial Gen Z, they have all the knowledge. But again, information is not transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't let my 20-somethings get away with it, nor do I let my 50-somethings. And you know what I see is what you said. I became a better dentist because of it. I became a better human because of it. Yeah, because I know you're better than you think you are. So we're not going to sit here on the sidelines having a little kumbaya chat. We're going to say, get out there and show yourself you can do it. And you did. You're so much stronger than when I first met you, and everybody would have described you as strong. Would that be fair?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. 100%. So the lesson is asking for help is not a weakness, is it actually a strength, and discovering yourself by, like I said, performance, application, and transformative. So my last question to you, Dana, how people can find you?
Yeah. So one of the best ways to just look at the work that we do is we're not super savvy on social media, and we're only on Instagram right now, Instagram and Facebook. So my company is Generating Success in New Zealand. So it's generating_success on Instagram. You can always go to my page. So I'm Dana Ackland, and I'm sure my name will be in your stuff. So you can always go there to get there, but that has a lot of just awareness pieces, tools to help you pay attention, things to make you laugh that actually make you think. So that's a great place. If you want to go to the website, that's just more informational, but it does give a little background on who we are, what we do, options. Eventually we're going to have tools on there that, like our Instagram, that you could just use and have resources for yourself. But that's generatingsuccess.co.nz. So that's a New Zealand address. So generatingsuccess.co.nz. So are you guys taking new clients, or? We are taking new clients. We're not necessarily looking for clients, but we're always willing to do a client, and we actually do pro bono. So we do, cause you asked me a question earlier or in another time. Is life coaching, executive coaching, is it just for the elite? And this is our way to make sure it isn't. So we have a massive price range. But we do pro bono. We try to do 10% of whatever we do in coachings, we do 10% pro bono. So we look at that every 2 weeks and monthly, and then we look at it over the year so that we're tracking along. But we always will do an opening session with you, because if we're not the right coach for you, we have a myriad of coaches, because you might not need what we have right now. So on the website, you can go and you can ask for a consultation or a meetup. You can do that through Instagram. My email is really easy, danaackland@gmail.com. So if you're wanting to just understand what it is or have a meeting, me or Danny can meet with you and just talk. But we love sitting with people. We count it a privilege. We don't take it lightly. It's a sacred moment, and we're doing this work too, and it's really hard. I had a really hard experience last week where I actually thought, if I don't do this and show up and be brave, how can I ask my clients to do it? And it was hard, but man, it was freeing. And I was like, I want everybody, if I can push through my fear, so everyone else can. So we do the work too. We joke that we drink the Kool-Aid. So we're not doing anything we don't ask you to do.
That's a beautiful message. Thank you so much for coming on today. And I can't believe it's over an hour. It's just, I can talk to you for hours, as you know. No, that's okay. But I hope you can come back. I really want to dig a little bit deeper into it. And I'm sure it will be impactful. And I'm glad that you mentioned the pro bono, just to help, other people. And yeah, the question is, it is not for only the privileged. So we have reached the end of our hour. As a reminder, these episodes are uploaded weekly on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube by the Mindset Mastery Moments. So if you have enjoyed this, please like, share, and hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss any episode, and it is free. This platform is sponsored by humanity and supported by everyday people's stories. So find us, join us, support us, and be kind always. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Hope to see you next time. This is Slava the Jordanian.